The night my oncologist called me at the dinner table. My wife was telling my children that I could no longer be trusted with my own money. She said it gently. That was what made it worse. If Linda had shouted, I could have fought back. If she had accused me of being reckless or stubborn, I might have dismissed it as another argument between two people who had been married long enough to know exactly where the other person bruised easiest. But she didn't shout. She reached across the table, rested her fingers lightly on my wrist, and spoke in the soft, sorrowful voice people use when they want everyone in the room to believe they are suffering more than the person they are talking about. "Frank," she said, "you know we love you." My daughter Emily stopped cutting her roast chicken. My son David stared down at his plate. Linda's sister, Carol, sat beside her with the tight little expression she wore whenever she was trying to look sympathetic. I looked around my dining room. The oak table had belonged to my parents. I had refinished it twice in 40 years. The china cabinet behind Linda had been built by my grandfather in 1948. The house itself was paid off. Yet somehow, sitting at my own table, I felt like a guest at a meeting nobody had told me was happening. "What exactly am I supposed to know?" I asked. Linda gave Emily a glance. That glance bothered me. It was too practiced. Then she squeezed my wrist. "That you haven't been yourself lately." I pulled my arm away. "In what way? You forget things. I'm 69. That's not what I mean." "What do you mean?" David finally looked up. "Dad, maybe we should hear her out. That hurt." My son had always been the one who challenged people. At 12, he argued with a little league umpire until I dragged him away. At 28, he left a job because his boss wanted him to lie to a customer. At 42, apparently, he had learned caution. Or Linda had gotten to him first. I looked at Emily. "What did she tell you?" Emily's eyes moved toward Linda. That answered my question. Linda folded her napkin carefully. "I told them I'm concerned." "About?" "Your judgment. My judgment." "Yes." Carol cleared her throat. "Frank, nobody is attacking you." "Then why are we discussing my judgment over mashed potatoes?" Carol looked offended. Linda closed her eyes for half a second. There it was, the expression she had perfected over the previous few months. Patient wife. Difficult husband. I leaned back. "Say what you came to say." Linda looked at David, then Emily, then back at me. "I think it's time we talk about putting some safeguards in place." "What safeguards?" "A power of attorney." I laughed. Nobody else did. The room felt colder. "You invited my children to dinner to ask me for power of attorney?" "No, that's exactly what you did. I invited our family because this affects everyone." "Our family?" Linda hated when I said that. She had been my wife for 11 years, but David and Emily were from my first marriage. Their mother, Susan, died of a stroke when she was 56. Linda never liked being reminded that some pieces of my life existed before she entered them. "I am your family," she said. "I didn't say you weren't. You implied it. I'm asking why my adult children are being asked to witness a conversation about you controlling my finances. I never said I would control them. Who would?" Silence. Then Carol said, "Linda has managed the household finances for years." That was technically true. I had owned a small electrical contracting business for 37 years. I understood payroll, insurance, taxes, vendor accounts, and project costs. I also hated paying the electric bill. After I retired, Linda handled most monthly household expenses. There is a difference between writing checks and owning the checkbook. Apparently, I was the only person at the table who still understood that. Linda took a breath. "Frank, last month you forgot you had a dentist appointment. I canceled it." "You told me you forgot." "Because I didn't feel like explaining why I canceled it." David frowned. "Why did you cancel?" "Because I had a headache." Linda immediately said, "He's been having headaches." I looked at her. There was something in the way she said it. Too fast, too eager. Emily asked, "Dad, are you okay?" "I'm sitting here having my competence discussed by committee. I've had better dinners. I mean physically. I'm fine." Linda's mouth tightened. That should have been the first moment I understood. It wasn't. At 69, I still believed marriage created a kind of floor beneath you. Maybe the house shakes. Maybe the roof leaks. Maybe you fight, but the floor remains. I did not yet understand that Linda had been quietly removing boards, one by one. She reached into a folder beside her chair. That was when anger replaced confusion. There was a folder. This was not a spontaneous conversation. "What's that?" "Nothing dramatic." "Then why is it in a legal folder?" David rubbed his forehead. "Dad." "No." If everybody else knows what's happening, I'd like to join. Linda opened it. Inside were documents. I recognized the logo of a local elder law firm. My stomach tightened. I spoke with someone, she said. About me? About options. What options? Temporary financial protections. I stared at her. What do you think I'm going to do? Buy a casino? Carol sighed. This is exactly why Linda was afraid to bring it up. Carol, you have been divorced 3 times. I'm not taking marriage advice from you, Emily said. Dad, I'm sorry. I wasn't. Carol leaned back. Linda looked wounded. Then she said, this isn't just about forgetting appointments. What else is it about? She hesitated. That hesitation was performance. I know that now. At the time, I thought she was protecting me. There are medical concerns. The fork slipped from Emily's hand. What medical concerns? I looked at Linda. She would not meet my eyes. What medical concerns? Frank, what medical concerns? Then my phone rang. I almost ignored it. The number on the screen began with the exchange for St. Vincent Medical Center. I had been waiting for a call from them, not oncology. At least, I didn't think I had. 3 weeks earlier, my primary doctor had sent me for additional blood work and a scan after I complained of persistent fatigue and pain in my lower back. Linda knew that. She had come with me. She had held my hand in the waiting room. She had told me not to worry. The doctor said it could be any number of things. Inflammation, kidney trouble, an old injury, something benign. The receptionist had told me the specialist's office would contact me if anything required follow-up. Nobody contacted me, or so I believed. I answered. Hello? A man's voice said. Master Whitmore? Whitmore? Yes. This is Dr. Samuel Patel from St. Vincent Oncology. Everything at the table stopped. Oncology. I looked at Linda. Her face lost color. Not gradually. It vanished. Dr. Patel continued. I apologize for calling you in the evening, but I've been trying to reach you directly for several days, and I became concerned after what happened this afternoon. I stood up. My chair scraped against the floor. What happened this afternoon? Silence from the phone. Then the doctor said, Mr. Whitmore, are you somewhere you can speak privately? I looked at my wife. No, I said, but I think I need you to tell me now. Linda stood. Frank, maybe you should take that in the other room. I held up my hand. She stopped. Dr. Patel said, your biopsy results came back positive. I heard Emily inhale. My fingers went numb around the phone. What biopsy? This time the silence was longer. Master Whitmore? I never had a biopsy. Across the table, Linda closed her eyes. Dr. Patel said very carefully, you underwent a needle biopsy 12 days ago. No, sir. I had a procedure. Linda told me it was an additional diagnostic sample because the first scan was unclear. That procedure was a biopsy. I looked at Linda. She whispered, Frank. I did not respond. The doctor continued. The pathology showed prostate cancer. There are moments when a room stays exactly the same while the world inside it changes completely. The chandelier still glowed. The food was still warm. A small crack still ran along the edge of my father's old serving dish. Outside, someone's dog barked, and I had cancer. Apparently, I had had cancer for nearly 2 weeks without knowing it. What stage? I asked. Dr. Patel paused. Based on your current imaging, it appears localized. We need one more test to confirm there's no spread, but at this point, there are several treatment options, and the outlook may be quite favorable. Favorable. That word should have comforted me. Instead, one thought burned through everything else. Why didn't anybody tell me? Another pause. Our office did attempt to discuss the findings. With whom? Your wife. I stared at Linda. Dr. Patel said, Mrs. Whitmore identified herself as your designated healthcare contact. I never designated her to receive cancer results instead of me. I understand. No, I don't think you do. Mr. Whitmore, that is part of why I called you personally. Linda stepped around the table. Frank, give me the phone. I backed away. Her hand stopped in midair. Doxat, Patel said. Your wife contacted my office this afternoon and asked us to prepare documentation indicating that you were unable to understand your diagnosis or make informed medical decisions. Emily stood. What? David's face changed. He looked at Linda. Why would you do that? Linda shook her head. He's twisting this. I put the phone on speaker. Dr. Patel's voice filled the dining room. Mr. Whitmore, I want to be clear. I did not make such a determination. In fact, based on my conversations with you during your prior visits, I had no reason to believe you lacked capacity. Linda stared at the phone. Doctor, you don't see him at home. I'm sorry, Dr. Patel said. Who am I speaking with? This is Linda Whitmore. There was a pause. Mrs. Whitmore, I believe we should continue this conversation directly with your husband. Linda's face hardened. You told me he was very sick. I told you he had cancer. You said he needed treatment immediately. I said we should schedule a consultation promptly. You said waiting could be dangerous. I said unnecessary delays are not advisable. She looked at me. You see, I was protecting you. I felt strangely calm. By not telling me I had cancer? You would have panicked, David said. Mom, stop. She looked at him. He had called her mom for almost 9 years. Not because she replaced Susan, because Linda once told him it hurt to always be called Linda when she had tried so hard to be part of the family. I wondered if he regretted the word now. Doctor, Patel spoke. Mr. Whitmore, I think we should meet tomorrow morning. I can explain the results directly. Yes. Can you come at 9? Yes. Please bring any paperwork you have regarding healthcare proxy or medical authorization. I looked at Linda. I'll bring everything. He gave me a direct number. Then he said something I will always remember. Mr. Whitmore, I'm sorry you learned this way. So am I. I ended the call. Nobody moved. Linda spoke first. You need to let me explain. I looked at the folder, the power of attorney documents, the medical papers she had apparently been collecting, the carefully arranged dinner, my children invited as witnesses. You knew I had cancer. Yes. For how long, Frank? How long? 12 days. Emily covered her mouth. David stared at the floor. I asked, You watched me go to bed every night for 12 days without telling me? I was waiting for the right time. You took me to breakfast Sunday. I know. We went to Owen's soccer game. That has nothing to do with this. You sat beside me at a soccer game and knew I had cancer. I was trying to give you a normal day. You let me complain that Dr. Miller's office was taking forever with my test results. Her eyes filled. Because I didn't know how to tell you. I almost believed her. That is the dangerous thing about people who know you intimately. They know which version of a lie you would most like to believe. Then I looked down at the legal folder. What does cancer have to do with a power of attorney? Her tears stopped, just slightly. But I saw it. I picked up the folder. She reached for it. Frank. I stepped away. The first page was a durable power of attorney form. My name was typed at the top. Linda's name appeared as agent. A second page referenced my declining health and cognitive uncertainty. Cognitive uncertainty. I looked at David. Did you see this? He shook his head. She told us you'd agreed to discuss it. I turned to Emily. Did she tell you I had cancer? Emily's eyes filled with tears. No, Linda said. I didn't want to scare them. Apparently, I was the last person who needed to know. Please. I flipped through more pages. Then I found something that made my hands tremble. A printout from my life insurance company. 2 policies. One for $750,000. One for $1.5 million. The second policy was older. I had taken it out when I owned Whitmore Electric because I carried business debt and wanted Susan and the children protected if I died. After Susan's death, I changed beneficiaries. David and Emily were each listed for 25%. Linda received 50%. At least that was what I remembered. The printout in my hand showed something different. Linda Whitmore, 100%. I looked at her. When did this change? She froze. What? You know exactly what. David came around the table. I handed him the page. He read it, then looked at Linda. That's not right, she said. Your father updated that years ago. No, I didn't. Yes, you did. When? After we remodeled the lake house. What does the lake house have to do with my life insurance? You said I needed security. I gave you survivorship rights to the house, and you changed the policy. No, you don't remember. There it was. Not concern, strategy. I suddenly understood the entire dinner. If I challenged her, it proved I was forgetful. If I got angry, it proved I was unstable. If I denied signing something, it proved cognitive decline. Linda had built a room where every door led back to the same conclusion. I could not be trusted. I felt more frightened then than when the doctor said cancer. Cancer was in my body. This was inside my home. I folded the paper. Everybody leave. Linda stared at me. This is my house, too. Then everybody except Linda leave. Emily touched my arm. Dad, I'm fine. No, you're not. I know, David said. I'm staying. No, Dad. I need one night where nobody tells me what I should do. He looked at me for a long time, then nodded. Emily hugged me. She started crying against my shoulder. I held her. For that moment, I was her father again. Not a patient, not an estate, not a problem to be managed. Her father. "I'll call you after the appointment," I whispered. "You promise?" "Yes." David hugged me too. He rarely did that. At the door, he looked back at Linda. I had never seen my son look at anyone that way. Not even the man who hit his parked car and lied about it. Disappointment has a different face from anger. Carol left without saying goodbye. When the front door closed, Linda and I stood in the foyer. For 11 years, that woman had slept beside me. She knew how I took my coffee. She knew which shoulder hurt when rain was coming. She knew I still kept Susan's wedding ring in a small wooden box in the attic. She knew I hated celery, loved old westerns, cried at funerals even when I barely knew the person, and could never sleep the night before a medical test. She knew everything required to hurt me efficiently. "Why?" I asked. She began crying again. I was scared. "Of what?" "Losing you." I laughed once. "You hid cancer from me because you were afraid of losing me." "I was trying to protect you." "Stop saying that. You don't understand what the doctor told me." "I understand that the doctor told you instead of me. He said there were decisions to make. My decisions. You always put things off. I put off cleaning the garage. I don't put off cancer." "How do I know that?" "Because you could have told me." She crossed her arms. "You're acting exactly the way I knew you would. Angry? Irrational." I looked at her. Then I looked at the folder. "Sleep in the guest room." Her face changed. "This is ridiculous. Tomorrow, after my appointment, we'll talk. You need me there." "No, I know all the medical details." "That is precisely why you will not be there." "Frank." "No." "Who is going to take notes? Emily? She has 3 children and a job." "David? He barely remembers his own birthday." "I'll take notes." She gave me the saddest smile I had ever seen. And suddenly I understood how often she had probably used that smile when I wasn't in the room. "You really think you can handle this alone?" That sentence settled something inside me. "Yes," I said. "I do." I locked my bedroom door that night. I had never locked a bedroom door against my wife before. I did not sleep. At 6:30 the next morning, I drove to a 24-hour diner near St. Vincent's and drank coffee I could barely taste. At 8:50, I walked into the oncology department alone. Dr. Patel met me in his office. He looked more tired than his voice had sounded. "I'm sorry," he said again. "Start from the beginning." So he did. My blood work showed an elevated SAE. MRI identified an abnormal area. The biopsy confirmed cancer. The pathology suggested an intermediate risk tumor. More imaging was needed, but nothing at that point suggested widespread disease. He explained treatment options: surgery, radiation. Active surveillance would probably not be his first recommendation given the specifics, but it remained a discussion to have after staging. I listened. I asked questions. I wrote things down. At the end, Dr. Patel leaned back. "Master Whitmore, I want you to understand something." "All right, you are not dying today." I almost laughed. "That's a low bar," he smiled. "Sometimes it's an important one." Then his expression changed. "May I ask you something sensitive?" "Yesterday wasn't exactly subtle. Your wife told my nurse you had recently become confused about finances, appointments, and conversations. She told my children the same thing. She also said you had agreed she should receive all medical information first. I did not." Dark. Patel opened my chart. "Your file contains an authorization signed approximately 4 months ago." He turned the screen. I recognized my signature, or something close to it. It authorized release of my medical information to Linda. That part did not surprise me. Years earlier, Linda and I had both signed forms allowing each other to speak with doctors. The problem was the next page. It identified her as my primary communication contact and requested that distressing diagnostic information be discussed with her before disclosure to me due to history of emotional instability. I stared at those words. "I never signed that, Dr. Patel." Patel looked at the document. "Your signature appears here." "I know what my signature looks like." "So do I." He looked at me. "What do you mean?" He pointed. "The first authorization has an electronic signature and timestamp. The second appears to be a scanned, handwritten signature." I leaned closer. It looked like mine, almost. The F in Frank curled too far forward. Susan used to joke that my signature looked like a collapsing fence. Linda had watched me sign thousands of things: insurance papers, birthday cards, tax returns, checks. I asked, "Who submitted this?" "The patient portal shows it was uploaded from your account." "My account?" "Yes." I knew who handled the passwords. "Linda." A cold feeling moved through me. Can I get copies? Yes, everything. He studied me. Muster Whitmore, do you feel safe at home? Nobody had ever asked me that question. I had spent my adult life being the person who made other people feel safe. I was 6'1" before age, compressed me closer to 6 feet. I had worked construction sites, raised 2 children, buried a wife, built a company. Men like me were not supposed to be asked if home was safe. We were supposed to fix the lock. I looked at Dr. Patel. Patel. I don't know, he nodded. That's an answer. He gave me copies. I left the hospital at 11:15. I did not go home. I drove to First County Bank. For 28 years, I had banked there. The manager, Tom Barnes, had been a young loan officer when I bought my first service van. Now he had white hair too. He smiled when I entered. Frank Whitmore. Tom, you look like hell. That saves me from paying for a second opinion. He laughed. Then he saw my face. What's wrong? I need to review every account connected to my name. His smile disappeared. We sat in his office. For the next hour, we opened doors I should have checked years earlier. Our joint checking account looked normal. Our household savings looked normal. Then Tom found a line of credit. Home equity. $240,000 approved. Balance. $183,400. I stared at the screen. I never opened that. Tom stopped typing. What? I never opened it. He printed the application. My signature appeared at the bottom, again. Almost mine. Linda's signature was beside it. The line had been opened 7 months earlier. Funds had been transferred in pieces. $25,000, $40,000, $18,500, $60,000, mostly into an account at another bank. What account is that? Tom checked. Destination says LUC Consulting LC. I had never heard of it. My hands were cold. Can you tell who owns it? Not from here. Can you freeze this line? Given what you're alleging, we can restrict further draws while fraud reviews it. Do it, he hesitated. Frank, are you sure Linda didn't discuss this with you? I would remember borrowing $183,000 against my house, he nodded. Fair. Then we looked at my investment account. That one hurt more. It had been worth a little over $2.4 million when I retired. Now it was $1.86 million. Some of the difference could be market movement, not $540,000. Tom said, you need your investment advisor, so I called him. My advisor, Ken Morris, answered immediately. After I identified myself, he sounded uncomfortable. Frank, I was actually expecting Linda. Why? She said you wanted to postpone our quarterly review. I never said that. Silence. Ken, she said you were dealing with medical issues. What did she ask you to do? Nothing improper. That was not my question, he sighed. She asked about transferring more assets into joint registration. How much? Most of the taxable account. Did you? No. Why? Because I needed your authorization. I closed my eyes. At least one door had held. Then he added, she did submit beneficiary updates on the IRA. My eyes opened. What updates? She changed the contingent beneficiary structure. From David and Emily to? There was a pause. Linda's revocable trust. I felt sick. Did I sign that? Electronic authorization came through your portal. When? 2 months ago. I had not changed anything 2 months earlier. I had spent most of that month helping Emily replace the deck behind her house. I remembered because I tore a hole in my favorite work glove. Some things you remember because they matter, some because they are ordinary. Both can save you. Freeze everything, I said. Frank. Nothing moves without me standing in front of you. Yes, I mean nothing. I understand. By noon, I had cancer and possible financial fraud. It was turning into a productive day. I called one more person, Ruth Kaplan. She had handled the sale of my business and later helped me update my estate plan. When I told her what I had found, she did not interrupt. When I finished, she said, do not go home alone. I'm not afraid of Linda physically. This is not about physical danger. I need clothes. You need documentation. I have copies. You need the originals she has, so I should go home with a witness. I'm not bringing my children into this. Then bring me. You're a lawyer. That is the idea. Ruth met me at the house at 2. Linda's car was gone. I unlocked the door. Nothing looked different. That is what betrayal does. It rarely redecorates. The couch was where it had been. Our wedding photograph still sat on the console table. Her scarf still hung over the banister. I looked at the photograph. We had married on a beach in South Carolina. I was 58. Linda was 50. She wore a simple cream dress. David and Emily stood beside me. Carol stood beside Linda. I remembered thinking how lucky I was to find companionship again after Susan. Ruth followed my gaze. Don't decide your whole marriage today. What? You're going to want to. I already am. Don't. Find facts first. That was good advice. Pain likes rewriting history. Sometimes history deserves rewriting. Sometimes it doesn't. We went to the office Linda used for bills. The desk drawer was locked. I laughed. What? Ruth asked. It wasn't locked last month. Do you have a key? No. Then don't break it. It's my desk. It is also potentially evidence. I hated when lawyers were sensible. We photographed everything. Then I noticed a portable file box in the closet, unlocked. Inside were insurance statements, my will, our marriage certificate, property documents, and a folder labeled health. Inside were all my recent test results. Every one, including the pathology report. Linda had printed it. The print date was 11 days earlier. I read my own diagnosis while standing in the room where my wife had hidden it from me. Prostatic adenocarcinoma, Gleason score, percent involvement. Words that meant my body had become a legal and medical file before I was invited to the conversation. Underneath the pathology report was something else, a brochure from a long-term care facility. Memory care. I stared at it. Ruth took it from me. Have you discussed this? No. Any reason you'd need it? No. Another sheet showed notes in Linda's handwriting. Sell Lake House? Move Frank? POA before treatment? Contact Marcus, I pointed. Who's Marcus? Ruth shook her head. Do you know? No. My phone buzzed. Emily, I answered. Dad? I'm okay. Did you see the doctor? Yes. And? Cancer. Treatable, as far as they can tell. She started crying. Hey, I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. I should have known. How? She kept asking me weird questions. I looked at Ruth. What questions? About your memory. When? For months. What did she ask? Whether you repeated stories. Whether you'd ever gotten lost driving. Whether you forgot names. I sat down. What did you tell her? That you repeat stories because you like hearing yourself talk. Despite everything, I laughed. Emily laughed too. Then she said, Dad, there's something else. What? Linda called me after you left for the hospital. What did she want? She said you were furious and confused. She told me not to believe everything you said. Ruth's eyes narrowed. What else? She asked if I remembered Grandpa Harold, my father. What about him? She said he had dementia. He was 87. She said it ran in families. My anger sharpened. Anything else? Emily hesitated. Dad, tell me. She asked if I would support temporary guardianship if doctors recommended it. Guardianship. Not power of attorney. Guardianship. That meant taking decisions away from me, not sharing them, not helping, taking them. I looked at Ruth. She had heard enough. Emily, don't sign anything. I won't. Don't discuss my finances with Linda. I won't. And don't confront her. Why? Because I need to know what she thinks I know. There was a pause. Then my daughter said, You sound like Grandpa. My father had been a quiet man. He rarely raised his voice. When angry, he got organized. I'll take that as a compliment. You should. After we hung up, Ruth said, You are not going back to normal tonight. What does that mean? It means you stay somewhere else. It's my house. Yes. I'm not running. This isn't running. It's avoiding giving her time alone with your electronics while you sleep. I stared at her. I hate lawyers. You've mentioned that. I packed a bag. Then I removed my desktop computer. Ruth raised an eyebrow. Evidence? Mine. Fair. I stayed at David's house. His wife, Rachel, had already prepared the guest room. She hugged me without saying anything. Their youngest daughter, Sophie, was 8. She asked why Grandpa was sleeping over. David said, Because Grandpa has an early appointment. I appreciated the lie. Not all lies are betrayal. Some are blankets. That night, after Sophie went to bed, David brought me a beer. I did not drink it. What did you find? He asked. A lot. I told him about the home equity line, the investment beneficiary changes, the medical authorization, the memory care brochure. David did not speak for a long time. Then he said, I'm going to kill her. No, you're not. You know what I mean. Yes, don't. How can you be this calm? I'm not. You look calm. I spent 37 years walking into buildings where electricity was exposed. What does that have to do with anything? If you panic, you touch the wrong thing. He nodded, then asked the question I had been avoiding. Do you think she wanted you to die? I looked at the beer bottle. No, Dad. I think she wanted control. Why hide cancer? I don't know yet. Money. Yes. That's not control. That's money. At my age, they start looking similar. He shook his head. She changed your insurance. We need to verify how. She borrowed against the house. Maybe. Maybe? I know Linda's name is on the line. I don't yet know where the money went. What else could it be? I looked at my son. This was the same man who, at 16, once broke a neighbor's window with a baseball and walked over immediately to confess. He had inherited Susan's inability to tolerate uncertainty. Facts first, I said. Did Ruth tell you that? Yes. I hate lawyers. Runs in the family. At midnight, my phone rang. Linda. I watched it ring. David looked at me. You answering? Yes. I put it on speaker. Frank? Hello. Where are you? Safe. She started crying. Please come home. Not tonight. I'm scared. So am I. You took the computer. Yes. Why? It's mine. Everything in that house is ours. Apparently not my medical information. Silence. Then she said, that was wrong. Yes, I know. Why did you do it? I told you. I was scared. That explanation expired around noon. She breathed hard. What are you accusing me of? Nothing. You went through my files. My pathology report was in your files. You're twisting this. No, I'm collecting it. Collecting what? Facts. She stopped crying. Again, only slightly, but enough. Who are you with? Why? Because somebody is feeding you this paranoia. I looked at David. His face hardened. Good night, Linda. Frank, wait. What? You need your medication. I take cholesterol pills and the sleeping tablets. I stopped those months ago. No, you didn't. Yes, I did. You told me you still take them. I almost answered. Then I remembered something. For weeks I had been waking groggy. Some mornings I felt as if I had slept through concrete. I had assumed stress, age, maybe the beginning of whatever medical problem the doctors were investigating. What sleeping tablets? She went quiet. Linda. The ones Dr. Miller prescribed. He prescribed those after Susan died. I know. That was 13 years ago. You still had some. No. Yes, you did. I looked at David. He was already shaking his head. I'm going to hang up. You're proving my point. What point? You don't remember your medication. I ended the call. David whispered, Dad, I know. The next morning, Ruth arranged for me to speak with a forensic accountant named Daniel Price. I had always imagined forensic accountants as thin men with calculators who lived in rooms without windows. Daniel was built like a retired linebacker and wore cowboy boots. He listened while I explained. Then he said, I need every statement you can get. I have online access. Good. What can you find? Money leaves fingerprints. That sounded promising. Over the next 4 days, my life split into 2 tracks, cancer and Linda. I had a staging scan. It showed no obvious spread. Dr. Patel referred me to a surgeon and a radiation oncologist. They discussed risks, benefits, side effects, probabilities. For the first time since the dinner, I felt grateful that cancer was complicated in an honest way. Nobody pretended certainty. Doctors said, we don't know yet. Lawyers said the same. Bankers too. Linda was the only person who had kept insisting she knew what was best. Daniel found WC Consulting. Linda Whitmore Consulting, created 9 months earlier. No website, no employees. Registered address, a mailbox service. The bank records took longer, but eventually the transfer pattern emerged. Money from the home equity line had gone into LUBC. From there, some paid credit cards, some paid travel expenses. Then Daniel found payments to a man named Marcus Bell. Marcus, the name from Linda's note. $15,000, $22,000. $8,500, another $30,000, total $96,000. Who is he? I asked. Daniel slid a printout across the table. Marcus Bell, age 58, licensed real estate broker, previously employed by Coastal Senior Living Development Group, Senior Living, Memory Care. My stomach turned. Anything else? Daniel hesitated. He and Linda owned property together. I stared at him. What property? A condominium in Charleston. The room went silent. Owned? Purchased jointly 8 months ago. How much? $610,000. Mortgage? $390. Down payment? About $220. That's more than she transferred. She also liquidated a certificate of deposit in her name. I leaned back. Linda had owned money before we married. About $90,000 from her first divorce. I had never touched it. Who lives there? Hard to tell. I asked the question anyway. Are they having an affair? Daniel shook his head. I follow money, not bedrooms. Fair. I called Ruth. Marcus Bell owns a condo with Linda. She was silent for 2 seconds. Do not call either of them. I'm getting tired of that instruction. Good. It means you're listening. Why would a real estate broker be involved in my medical situation? That is what we find out next. We found out accidentally. Emily called me Friday afternoon. Her voice was shaking. Dad, Linda came to my office. Why? She said she needed me to sign a statement. What statement? That you've been forgetting conversations. Did you? No. Good. She got angry. How angry? She said if I didn't cooperate, you might lose your chance to get into Brookside. I froze. What is Brookside? I asked the same thing. And? She said it's a private care community. Memory care. The brochure in the file box. What exactly did she say? That she already had a placement option and was trying to make sure you were safe before treatment made your confusion worse. My hands curled around the phone. Did she say anything about selling the house? Yes. That word hit harder than I expected. What? She said eventually the house would be too much for you. Did she say where she would live? Emily was quiet. Charleston, of course. I called Ruth. She called someone else. By Monday, we had a clearer picture. Marcus Bell had consulted for Brookside Senior Living 2 years earlier. He knew administrators there. Linda had contacted Brookside under the pretense of seeking future placement for a spouse with suspected dementia. She had asked what documentation would be needed if the spouse resisted admission. The administrator, thankfully, had told her voluntary admission or lawful guardianship would be required. Linda then contacted an elder law attorney that explained the dinner folder. If she could establish cognitive impairment, obtain control of my finances, and move me into care during cancer treatment, she could sell the house under authority. Or try. Then she could move to Charleston with Marcus. The financial motive was obvious, but one question remained. Why hide the cancer? Ruth answered. Timing. What do you mean? If you knew you had cancer, what would you do? Update my estate plan. Exactly. I stared at her. She wanted everything positioned before I had a reason to review it. Yes. She thought the diagnosis might make me change beneficiaries. Yes. She knew the cancer probably wasn't terminal. Probably. Then why rush? Because illness creates urgency. She leaned forward. Frank, vulnerable adults sign documents every day because somebody they trust tells them it's necessary. I'm not vulnerable. You had cancer you didn't know about, possible medication you didn't know you were taking, forged or questionable electronic signatures, and a spouse telling your children you were cognitively declining. I said nothing. She softened. Vulnerability is not stupidity. That sentence stayed with me. The medication question bothered Dr. Patel too. He referred me back to my primary physician. Blood work did not prove anything. The sleeping medication Linda mentioned would not remain detectable indefinitely. But my pharmacy records showed something strange. A refill. 6 months earlier. 30 tablets. I had not requested it. Then another refill 3 months later. Pickup signature, L. Whitmore. Linda. I remembered the little white pill organizer she filled every Sunday. I had trusted it so completely I often swallowed the pills without looking. Cholesterol. Blood pressure. Vitamin D. There should have been 3. For several months. Maybe there had been 4. I felt physically ill. Dr. Miller was careful. He did not accuse Linda. Neither did I. But he discontinued the old prescription formally and documented that I had not authorized recent use. He also performed a brief cognitive screening. I passed. Then a more extensive neuropsychological evaluation. I passed that too. Not perfectly. Nobody at 69 remembers 20 random words on command. But the conclusion was clear. No evidence of dementia. No significant cognitive impairment. Ruth practically smiled when she read it. Paper beats whispering. I did not smile. Because by then, Linda had hired an attorney. Her position was that I had become paranoid after receiving a cancer diagnosis. She denied forging anything. She said I had authorized the home equity line. She said WC Consulting was a legitimate attempt to develop a future retirement project. She described Marcus as a business partner. The Charleston condo, she claimed, was an investment. The beneficiary changes, she claimed, were decisions I had made and forgotten. She denied giving me sleeping medication without my knowledge. Her lawyer sent a letter stating that Linda was deeply concerned for her husband's mental and emotional condition. Ruth read it, then looked at me. She's committing. To what? The story. Good. Why good? Because people who commit to lies become predictable. I understood that. Construction taught me the same thing. If a wall is crooked, every measurement after it becomes harder. The divorce filing came 2 weeks later. I filed. Not Linda. That mattered to me. I wanted one decision to be entirely mine. I cited financial misconduct. Ruth told me divorce petitions are not revenge letters, so we kept it short. The day Linda was served, she called 14 times. I answered the 15th. 24 hours, she said. What? You gave up on 11 years in 24 hours. No, that's what this is. It took longer. Because of Marcus? I stopped. So did she. That was the first time I had said his name. How do you know about Marcus? Good night, Linda, Frank. I hung up. She came to David's house the next morning. I was at the hospital discussing radiation. Rachel called me. Don't come here. What happened? Linda's outside. Call the police if she won't leave. She says she wants her husband. I'm not luggage. Rachel almost laughed, then lowered her voice. She brought Carol. Of course she did. And a man. My body tightened. What man? I don't know. What does he look like? Late 50s. Tall. Gray blonde hair. Marcus. What is he doing? Mostly standing by the car. I ended the call and called Ruth. Do nothing, she said. She came to my son's house with him. Excellent. Excellent? Witnesses. Sometimes I really did love lawyers, David called later. He had recorded the conversation on his doorbell camera. Linda told him I was spiraling. She said Marcus was helping her arrange safe housing. David asked why a man who owned a condo with her was involved in my housing. Linda's face on the video changed. Marcus stepped forward. That was his mistake. He told David, Your father doesn't understand the financial pressure his illness creates. My son replied, What exactly do you know about my father's illness? Marcus looked at Linda, then at the camera, then walked away. Ruth replayed that moment 3 times. He knew. Knew what? About the cancer? So your wife disclosed your diagnosis to her business partner before you knew it yourself. I sat back. That mattered to me more emotionally than legally. Somewhere in Charleston, perhaps over dinner, perhaps in bed, perhaps while discussing what color curtains to put in their jointly owned condo, Linda had told another man I had cancer. She had given him my fear before she gave it to me. That ended something. Until then, a small, stupid part of me still wondered whether the marriage could be explained. Not saved. Explained. Maybe she panicked. Maybe money got tangled with fear. Maybe Marcus really was business. Maybe. That door closed. I focused on treatment. I chose radiation. The decision took time. I met specialists. Asked David to come once. Emily came once. I did not allow Linda access to appointments. Every medical password changed. Every financial password changed. Every bank account gained additional identity verification. For the first time in years, I paid my own electric bill. It was annoyingly satisfying. Treatment tired me. There is no noble way to say that. I was tired. Some days I felt old, not 69. Old. My body was being discussed in measurements and percentages. My marriage was being reduced to exhibits and transaction records. There were mornings when I did not want justice. I wanted Susan. That surprised me. I had loved Linda. I believe that. But grief is strange. When the person beside you becomes unsafe, your mind reaches backward toward the last place it remembers safety. One afternoon after treatment, I drove to the cemetery. Susan's grave was under a maple tree. I sat on the bench beside it. You would hate this, I said. The wind moved the leaves. I know. I'm talking to a rock. A woman walking a dog glanced at me. I didn't care. I thought I did everything right after you died. That was the part I had not admitted. I had felt guilty for remarrying, not because Susan would have objected. She once told me, during a hospitalization years before her stroke, that if she died first, I should not turn into one of those old men who eats soup from a can and argues with the television. I had promised. Linda came into my life 2 years later. She was funny, practical, warm. At least I believed she was. Maybe she was. People are not always monsters from the beginning. Sometimes they become worse one permission at a time. One secret, one justified shortcut, one lie that works, then another. I sat beside Susan's grave until sunset. Before leaving, I said, I'm going to be all right. I did not know if that was true. But sometimes you say things because you need to hear your own voice attempt them. The financial investigation deepened. Daniel found more. WC Consulting had paid Marcus far more than we first knew. Some payments were disguised as reimbursements, others as market research. Total benefit to him or jointly owned assets exceeded $160,000. Then Daniel found a draft purchase agreement. My lake house. The small cabin on Lake Mercer. Not a creative name. My father bought the land in 1967. I rebuilt the cabin after a storm. Susan loved it. David learned to fish there. Emily got engaged on the dock. Linda had never loved the place. Mosquitoes. Old plumbing. No decent restaurants nearby. The draft agreement listed a sale price far below market value. Buyer, Bell Coastal Holdings, Marcus's company. I stared at it. She was going to sell my lake house to him. Daniel nodded. Did she have authority? Not yet. Power of attorney, likely. Then he could resell. Yes. How much below market? About $300,000. I laughed. Daniel looked surprised. What? I spent 40 years telling contractors not to underestimate old property. He waited. Apparently I married one. We had enough to go on a fence. Ruth filed motions regarding dissipation of marital assets. The bank fraud department opened investigations. My investment firm confirmed certain beneficiary changes originated from IP addresses associated with our home but could not prove who entered them. Then we got lucky, or careless people got careless. Linda had emailed herself scanned copies of my signature. Multiple versions, check signatures, tax signatures, a signature from an old insurance form. Computer forensics recovered files from the desktop I removed. A folder had been deleted, signatures, created 9 months earlier, the day before the home equity application. Ruth stared at the report. This is very bad for her. For me too. You know what I mean. Yes, I did. Then came the message that changed Marcus from suspicious to stupid. On Linda's synced email archive, investigators found a deleted email from him. Subject: after. Linda, once Frank is placed and the POO is active, the cleanest path is house first, cabin second. Don't rush the investment account until treatment begins because that will bring the kids around more often. M. I read it twice, then a third time. Placed, that word. Not moved, not admitted. Placed, like furniture. Ruth took the page from me. You don't need to keep reading it. Yes, I do. Why? Because I want to remember exactly what I survived. Her expression softened. This may become criminal, I nodded. Good, but it did not feel good. Nothing about realizing your wife discussed the best time to move your assets while you underwent cancer treatment feels good. Justice is satisfying from far away. Up close, it often smells like grief. Linda's deposition was scheduled for November. By then, I had completed treatment. My doctors were cautiously optimistic. The first post-treatment numbers moved in the right direction. Dr. Patel refused to use the word cured. I respected him for that. Promising, he said. I'll take promising. You should. The deposition took place in a conference room downtown. I was not required to attend. I did anyway. Ruth warned me. You may hear things you don't like. I married her. That warning came late. Linda entered wearing navy blue. Her hair was shorter. She looked older. For one terrible second, I missed her. That is another thing nobody tells you about betrayal. Anger does not erase attachment on schedule. You can know what somebody did and still remember how they laughed on your 60th birthday. You can hate the lie and miss the person who told it. Both can be true. Linda did not look at me. Her attorney began with basic questions. Marriage date, addresses, employment, then money. At first she held the story. WC was business. Marcus was a consultant. The condo was investment. The home equity line was authorized. Then Ruth's questions began. Mrs. Whitmore, when did your husband first learn he had cancer? I don't know exactly. You were present when Dr. Patel called during dinner? Yes. Was that the first time Dr. Patel directly informed your husband of the diagnosis? I believe so. How many days earlier did you learn? She hesitated. I'm not sure. Ruth placed the pathology report on the table. This was printed from your account 11 days earlier. Linda looked at it. I printed many things. Did you know it showed cancer? Yes. Did you tell your husband? I was planning to. When? When the time was right. What had to happen before the time was right? Her attorney objected. Ruth rephrased. Did you intend to obtain power of attorney before telling your husband? No. Ruth produced her handwritten note. POA before treatment? Linda stared at it. That was just a reminder. Of what? I was exploring options. For what? For Frank's care. He had not been diagnosed with dementia. No. He had not been declared incapacitated. No. You had not told him he had cancer. No. So what care required financial control? Linda's attorney intervened. Ruth moved on. Who is Marcus Bell? A business associate. Did you have a romantic relationship with him? Silence. Her attorney objected. Ruth explained relevance to marital assets. Linda looked at her hands. Yes, the room changed. I thought I was prepared. I was not. When did the romantic relationship begin? About a year ago. 1 year. Our anniversary trip to Savannah was 10 months earlier. She had held my hand on River Street, bought me a stupid hat, told me she loved me in a hotel room while another relationship already existed. Ruth asked, "Did Mr. Bell know your husband had cancer before your husband did?" Linda's eyes lifted. Yes, I looked away. That was worse hearing it aloud. Ruth continued. Why? I needed someone to talk to. You chose Mr. Bell. Yes. Did you discuss Mr. Whitmore's finances with him? Yes. Did you discuss placing Mr. Whitmore in a care facility? Her eyes filled. Yes. Why? Because I thought Frank was declining. Based on what medical diagnosis? I lived with him. That was not my question. Linda looked toward me for the first time. I knew him. I almost laughed. Ruth asked, "Did you give your husband prescription sleep medication without telling him?" Linda's face changed. Her attorney immediately instructed her not to answer pending potential criminal exposure. There it was. Not proof, but enough. Ruth waited, then asked, "Did you upload documents containing what purported to be Frank Whitmore's signature?" Same instruction. "Did you change his investment beneficiaries?" Instruction not to answer. "Did you open a home equity line using his signature?" Do not answer. "Did you plan to sell the lake property to Marcus Bell after obtaining power of attorney?" Do not answer. The woman who had spent months telling everyone I could not remember suddenly remembered her right not to answer. I sat through all of it. Afterward, Linda approached me in the hallway. Her lawyer tried to stop her. She ignored him. "Frank!" I looked at her. "I'm sorry." I waited. "For the affair." I said nothing. "For hiding the diagnosis." Still nothing. "I didn't want you to die." That made me angry. "Then why did you make treatment wait?" "It was only days. Days that belonged to me." She started crying. I didn't understand how far it had gone. "What?" "Everything. You created the company. I know. You borrowed money. I know. You bought a condo. I know. You discussed moving me into memory care. I know. At what point exactly did you become a passenger?" Her shoulders shook. "Marcus kept saying we needed a plan. There was no we in my marriage. I was unhappy. So get divorced. I was afraid. Of losing money?" "Yes!" People in the hall looked over. At least it was honest. She lowered her voice. "Yes!" I stared at her. "I gave 11 years to this marriage. I know. You would have been financially secure if you left, honestly. I didn't know that. You never asked. I thought David and Emily would take everything. My children do not control my property. You always chose them first. They are my children. And I was your wife." Yes, second wife. There it was. A wound I had never understood. "You think I loved you less because Susan existed? You kept her everywhere. She died. Her pictures. For my children. Her ring. In a box. Her cabin. My father bought the cabin. Her table." I looked at the conference room behind us. The oak dining table. She meant that. Susan had eaten at it. So had my parents. My children. My grandchildren. Linda had never believed she owned enough of my life. Not because I denied her a place, because she wanted the places before her to disappear. "You could have told me," I said. She wiped her face. "Would you have changed? Maybe?" "No. You'll never know." She looked at me. "Did you ever really love me like her?" The question was so sad, I almost reached for her. "Almost." "Yes," I said. "Not the same." "No." Her face broke. "I knew it. Linda, nobody is loved the same." She stared at me. "That is not an insult. It feels like one." "I loved Susan when I was 23. I loved you when I was 58. I was not the same man. Why would the love be the same?" She cried quietly. For a moment, I saw the woman I married. Then I remembered the email. After. House first. Cabin second. Don't rush the investment account until treatment begins. "I would have given you freedom," I said. "What? If you wanted Marcus, I would have hated it. I would have been angry. But I would have let you go." She closed her eyes. "You didn't have to make me disappear to leave." Then I walked away. Marcus was deposed next. He was less sympathetic. He called our plans asset optimization. Ruth asked whether asset optimization commonly required placing the asset owner in memory care. He did not answer. He claimed Linda told him I had early dementia. He claimed he believed I wanted her to control the finances. He claimed the lake house sale would have been legitimate. Then Ruth showed him an independent appraisal. He had trouble explaining the $300,000 discount. He claimed it accounted for condition. The cabin had a new roof, new dock, updated wiring. I knew because I had done half of it. Ruth asked whether he had ever visited. Yes? With Linda? Yes. When? He gave a date. My 78th? No. Wait, I was 69. My 69th birthday weekend. I had gone fishing with David and the grandchildren. Linda told me she had a migraine and stayed home. Apparently, she recovered enough for a lake trip with Marcus. That detail hurt stupidly, more than some of the money. Betrayal is often made of calendars. Dates you thought belonged to one memory become attached to another. The divorce took another 7 months. Criminal investigators handled parts separately. I will not pretend the ending arrived as one dramatic courtroom scene. Real life rarely gives you that courtesy. It comes in letters, hearings, phone calls, bank notices, settlement conferences, then, gradually, consequences. Linda eventually admitted that she had submitted documents without my informed authorization. She denied physically forging every signature, and some digital actions could not be conclusively traced to her alone, but enough existed. The home equity line was deemed fraudulent as to my authorization. The bank pursued recovery. Funds remaining in LBUC were frozen. The Charleston condo was sold. My share of misappropriated marital funds was restored through the divorce settlement. Marcus lost money. A lot. That did not make me sad. Linda faced criminal charges relating to financial exploitation and document fraud. She entered a plea agreement. No prison, probation, restitution, community service, restrictions involving financial fiduciary roles. Some people told me she got off easy. I did not feel that way. She lost her marriage, the condo, much of her money, her reputation with my children. Her relationship with Carol became strained after Carol learned how much Linda had hidden from her too. Marcus disappeared from her life before the plea was final. That was perhaps the least surprising event of the entire story. Men who help steal someone else's house rarely stay when there is no house left to steal. The cancer became the quieter story. My numbers continued to improve. A year after treatment, Dr. Patel sat across from me with a smile. This is what we want to see. Say something stronger. I'm a doctor. We ration optimism. What about excellent? Excellent, I smiled. Better, he turned serious. You were fortunate. I know. The delay probably did not materially change your outcome. Probably. I had learned to respect that word. Still shouldn't have happened. No, he paused. Your case changed some procedures here. What procedures? We no longer allow a family member to become the sole recipient of a new cancer diagnosis without direct physician confirmation that the patient specifically requested it. I stared at him. You changed that because of me? Because of what happened, that mattered. Not enough to make it worth it. Nothing would. But it mattered. I sold the big house. That surprised everyone. David thought I was letting Linda win. Emily cried. It's our family home. No, I said. It was, Dad. Houses don't become family because we refuse to leave them. I had learned that the hard way. I bought a smaller place 10 minutes from Emily. 1 story, wide porch, enough room for grandchildren, a workshop in the back. I kept the oak dining table. Of course I did. It barely fit. Rachel said I should buy something smaller. I told her some things are supposed to be inconvenient. The lake cabin stayed. I placed it in trust for David and Emily, with lifetime use for me. No spouse could ever sell it without their agreement. Ruth approved. Paranoid? I asked. Experienced. I liked that better. I updated every estate document. David and Emily became equal beneficiaries. A portion went directly into trusts for the grandchildren. Then I did something nobody expected. I left Linda a small fixed amount. Not much. Enough that nobody could say I forgot her. Ruth looked at me. Why? 11 years existed. That is emotionally generous and legally unnecessary. I know. Do you want her to get it? If I die first. That wasn't my question, I thought. Yes. Why? Because I don't want the last thing I do in that marriage to be revenge, Ruth nodded. That may be the first sentimental thing I've heard you say. Don't tell anyone. 2 years after the dinner, I received a letter from Linda. Not email. Paper. Her handwriting. I almost threw it away. Then I opened it. Frank, I have rewritten this more times than I can count. I know apologies can become selfish when the person giving them expects relief in return. I am not asking you to forgive me. I was afraid of getting older without security. Instead of telling you that, I turned fear into entitlement. I convinced myself that because I had helped care for you, helped with the house, helped with the family, I had earned control over what happened next. Marcus made bad choices easier, but he did not create them. I did. I knew about the cancer. I knew you deserved to know. I told myself I was waiting until I could make everything safe. The truth is, I was waiting until everything was arranged for me. That is difficult to write. It should be. I was also wrong about Susan. I spent years competing with a dead woman who was never competing with me. You did love me. I see that now. I am sorry I made you doubt your mind. I think that was the cruelest thing I did. Linda. I read the letter 3 times. The line about making me doubt my mind stayed with me. That was the cruelest thing. Not the money, not Marcus, not even cancer. For months afterward, I questioned ordinary mistakes. If I forgot where I put my keys, I froze. Was she right? If I told Emily a story twice, I noticed. If I walked into the garage and forgot why, my heart raced. That was Linda's deepest theft. She made normal aging feel like evidence against me. I took the letter to my therapist. Yes, at 71, I finally got a therapist. David found that hilarious until I suggested he get one too. Then he stopped laughing. Her name was Dr. Elaine Morgan. She asked what I wanted to do with the letter. I don't know. Do you want to respond? I don't know. Do you forgive her? Everybody asks that. Occupational hazard. I looked out the window. I don't hate her. That is not forgiveness. I know. I don't want her back. Also not forgiveness. I know, she smiled. What does forgiveness mean to you? I don't know anymore. Good. How is that good? It means you stopped borrowing somebody else's definition. I thought about that. A week later, I wrote Linda back. 3 paragraphs. I told her I appreciated the honesty. I told her the children were well. I told her my cancer remained under control. Then I wrote, I am not ready to say I forgive everything. I may never say it in the way people expect, but I no longer wake up angry at you. That is where I am. I mailed it. She never wrote again. That was enough. On my 72nd birthday, my children organized dinner at my new house. Emily cooked. David pretended to help. The grandchildren decorated the porch with balloons. Sophie gave me a card that said, Grandpa, I'm glad you didn't die. Children are efficient. We ate at the old oak table. At one point, David raised his glass. To Dad, I groaned. No speeches. You gave speeches at both our weddings. That was different. You talked 23 minutes at mine. Your marriage needed instructions. Rachel laughed. David continued. To Dad, who somehow survived cancer, divorce, lawyers, banks, and learning how to pay his own utility bills. Everyone laughed. I raised my glass. The utility bills were the worst. Then Emily became serious. I mean it, Dad. I looked at her. We almost lost you. No. Yes, cancer was treatable. I don't mean cancer. The table quieted. She reached over and took my hand. She almost convinced us not to trust you. That was the part I had never blamed them for. Emily, I believed some of it. You believed your stepmother was worried. I should have known. How? You're my dad. That doesn't make you psychic. She made you look weak. I squeezed her hand. People are allowed to be weak. She looked at me. That's not what I mean. I know. I looked around the table. There is something I want all of you to understand. Even the grandchildren got quiet. Getting older does not mean you stop making mistakes, Sophie whispered. Mom says you make more. Emily gave her a look. I smiled. She's not completely wrong. Everyone laughed. Then I continued. But needing help and losing your rights are not the same thing, David nodded. If I forget something, remind me. I looked at Emily. If I get sick, help me. Then at both of them. If I make a bad decision, tell me. I paused. But never let anyone convince you that loving an older person means taking their voice away. Nobody spoke. I had not planned to say it. Some truths arrive only after dinner. I looked down at my plate. 2 years earlier, another dinner had taken place around that same table. Linda sat across from me, Carol beside her, a legal folder near the bread basket, my children watching, my wife telling them I could no longer be trusted. Then the phone rang. At the time, I thought the worst thing I heard that night was, "You have cancer." I was wrong. Cancer frightened me. The truth about Linda devastated me. But neither was the sentence that changed me most. It was something Dr. Patel said later. You are not dying today. For months, I thought he meant cancer. Eventually, I understood it differently. I was not dying that day, so I still had choices. I could protect my money, change my passwords, hire a lawyer, leave a dangerous marriage, choose treatment, tell my children the truth, ask for help, start over. I could decide what happened next. That is something people forget about older men, about older women too. The world starts speaking around us. Doctors to spouses, children to lawyers, banks to caregivers. People lower their voices as if age makes hearing truth dangerous. Sometimes the person sitting quietly in the chair becomes the last person anyone thinks to ask. What do you want? I know now what I want. I want truth early, even when it hurts. I want my children to challenge me without humiliating me. I want doctors to look me in the eye. I want my money to go where I decide. I want my grandchildren to remember me as a man who grew older, not a man who disappeared into old age. And when my mind finally does fail me someday, if it does, I want the people I love to remember something Linda forgot. A person does not lose dignity the moment he needs help. My cancer results are in a folder now. My folder, bottom drawer of my desk. Every appointment note, every scan, every lab report. Nobody filters them for me. Every few months, Vincent uploads new results. The portal sends me an email. I log in myself. Sometimes I call David afterward. Sometimes Emily. Sometimes nobody. That choice means more to me than it once did. Last spring, Dr. Patel called again. It was just after 6 in the evening. I was cooking steak, poorly. I saw his number and laughed. When I answered, he said, "Mr. Whitmore." "Whitmore, doctor, you have terrible timing." "I've heard that before. What's wrong?" "Nothing." I stopped. "Nothing. Your latest numbers look very good." "How good?" "Very good. You called me at dinner to say that." "Yes." For a moment, I could not speak. The first time that man called me during dinner, I learned I had cancer and that my wife had hidden it. This time, I stood alone in my smaller kitchen, smoke coming from a pan because I had forgotten to turn the burner down, and listened to him tell me I was doing well. "Frank? I'm here. You okay?" "Yes." I looked through the kitchen doorway. The oak table sat under the window. Susan's old serving dish was in the cabinet. A photograph of Linda and me was no longer on the wall. A photograph of my children and grandchildren was. Life had not returned to what it was. That is another lie people tell. After something terrible, they say they want things back to normal. Normal is gone. You build something else. "I'm okay," I told him. "Good. Doctor?" "Yes? Thank you for calling me." There was a pause. Then he understood. "You're welcome, Frank." I hung up. The steak was burned on one side. I ate it anyway. At 72, you stop believing dinner has to be perfect to be good. A few minutes later, David called. "Dad, you watching the game?" "No. You know the playoffs are on?" "I know." "You sound weird." "I got my latest results." Silence. "And?" "Good. How good?" "Very good," he shouted. I had to pull the phone away from my ear. Then I heard Rachel yelling. The grandchildren started asking questions. Somebody dropped something. I laughed. "Put me on speaker." A chorus of voices filled the room. That is how medical news should sound. Messy, loud, honest, mine. After the call, I carried my plate to the dining room. I sat at the same table where Linda tried to take my future away from me. For a long time, I thought about selling that table. Too many memories. My parents, Susan, Linda, the terrible dinner. Then Sophie spilled grape juice on it during Christmas. A dark purple stain soaked into a tiny crack near the center. Emily panicked. "Dad, I'm so sorry." I looked at the stain, then at Sophie's terrified face. "It's a table." "But Grandma Susan's family." "It's a table." I smiled at Sophie. "Now it has your stain too. That is why I kept it. Objects should not belong only to the past. Neither should people. I am 72 now. I still forget why I walk into rooms sometimes. I call one grandson by another grandson's name. Last month, I spent 10 minutes looking for my glasses while they were on top of my head. Emily laughed so hard she cried. I laughed too. Then I thought of Linda. For just 1 second, that old fear returned. Maybe I am slipping. Then I remembered the neurologist, the tests, the truth, and something else. If that day comes, it comes. I will deal with it when it is real. I refuse to surrender my present because someone once weaponized my future. Cancer taught me that my body is not guaranteed. Linda taught me something different. Trust is not a legal document. A marriage certificate cannot create it. A power of attorney should never replace it. And love without respect can become something dangerous while still calling itself love. If you are listening to my story because somebody in your family has started speaking for you, pay attention. Not every offer of help is manipulation. Most are not. Good people help. Good children worry. Good spouses sometimes become overprotective. But there is a line. You know it when questions become decisions made without you. You know it when information about your own life reaches everyone except you. You know it when people start using ordinary mistakes as proof that you cannot be trusted. You know it when someone needs you to doubt yourself before their plan can work. That line matters. Ask questions. Read what you sign. Keep access to your own accounts. Know your doctors. Know your lawyers. Know where your documents are. And if somebody loves you, they should not be frightened by your ability to understand your own life. The final thing I learned was this. Linda thought cancer made me weaker. She believed illness created the perfect moment to take control. In one sense, she was right. Cancer did make me weaker. Treatment exhausted me. Fear made me cry in parking lots. There were nights I wanted someone else to make every decision because I was tired of being brave. But weakness is not the same thing as helplessness. That is where she miscalculated. The night Dr. Patel called, Linda looked across the dinner table and saw an aging man with cancer. A man she thought she had already positioned. The insurance, the house, the accounts, the legal papers, the story about my memory, the care facility. She believed the pieces were almost in place. Then my doctor called me directly. One phone call. That was all it took. Not to save me, to return me to my own story. Once I knew the truth, I could act. That is why secrets are so powerful, and why truth is more powerful. The truth did not cure my cancer. Doctors did their part. Medicine did its part. Luck did its part. The truth did something else. It gave me back the right to decide what happened to the time I had left. And in the end, that was the money Linda never understood. Not the insurance, not the investment account, not the house, not the cabin. Time, my time. She tried to spend it without asking me. I took it back. And every morning I wake up now, whether I remember where I put my glasses or not, I know exactly who it belongs to.
You bring me down for all to see, then switch it up and treat me right. You promise sun, but you bring rain. I still love what you do to me. The highest highs, the lowest lows. You take me to every extreme. Can't get enough, please let me be. But I love what you do to me. From me, and then you touch, and I feel so much. I just love what you do to me. I love what you do to me. You bring me down for all to see, then switch it up and treat me right. You promise sun, but you bring rain. I still love what you do to me. The highest highs, the lowest lows. You take me to every extreme. Can't get enough, please let me be. But I love what you do to me. From me, and then you touch, I feel so much. I just love what you do to me. I love what you do to me. You bring me down for all to see, then switch it up and treat me right. You promise sun, but you bring rain. I still love what you do to me. The highest highs, the lowest lows. You take me to every extreme. Can't get enough, please let me be. But I love what you do to me. do to me. What you do to me. You bring me down for all to see, then switch it up and treat me right. You promise sun, but you bring rain. I still love what you do to me. The highest highs, the lowest lows. You take me to every extreme. Can't get enough, please let me be. But I love what you do to me. From me, and then you touch, and I feel so much. I just love what you do to me. what you do to me. me down for all to see, then switch it up and treat me right. You promise sun, but you bring rain. I still love what you do to me. The highest highs, the lowest lows. You take me to every extreme. Can't get enough, please let me be. But I love what you do to me. From me, and then you touch, I feel so much. I just love what you do to me. I love what you do to me. You bring me down for all to see, then switch it up and treat me right. You promise sun, but you bring rain. I still love what you do to me. The highest highs, the lowest lows. You take me to every extreme. Can't get enough, please let me be. But I love what you do to me. from me. And then you touch, and I feel so much. I just love what you do to me. And then you touch, I feel so much. I just love what you do to me. Oh, I love what you do to me.